Today we look at one of the lesser known biomes. It's often seen as a plain and vast landscape with little biodiversity. However, it offers a whole lot more than that. Temperate grasslands are one of the most important biomes on Earth. They are low-lying flat plains that occupy large regions of Earth. Although it may look like a pleasant biome to live in, the animals here have adapted immensely to the often disregarded, challenging and volatile conditions that make up this biome. Temperate grasslands are located between latitudes of 40 to 60 degrees north and south. The most notable examples of grasslands include the Patagonian steppe and the North American prairies. Temperate grasslands have moderate levels of precipitation, where it's too dry for trees to grow, but moist enough to allow some vegetation to grow. The species diversity is quite low here, as the vegetation structure is very simple above the ground. However, most of the nutrients and vegetation is actually held under the ground. This biome is made up of a mix of grasses and grazers, which both interact to create this vast ecosystem. Grasses have adaptations to reduce the effects grazers have on their growth, and grazers have adaptations to maximise the intake of vegetation. Firstly, grasses grow from a point near the ground which isn't consumed by grazers. This then allows grasses to maintain their dominance over others and continue to grow. This is an added benefit as opposed to other plants that grow from the tip, which is then eaten by grazers, causing their growth to be halted abruptly. From first glance, there aren't any pretty flowers here or complex leaves. This is because grasses direct much more of their energy into growing their roots as opposed to their leaves. Their roots intertwine with others to form a continuous root mat, helping to keep the soil in place. Fires here are quite frequent, and so the root mat allows grasses to use their reserves underground to resume growth immediately. One of the main reasons why so few trees grow here is because grazers eat the seeds before they are able to germinate and grow into a tree. The characteristics of this biome make it tough for animals to survive here, and each animal that has managed to survive here has their own role in the ecosystem and their own adaptations that suit this. The grasslands are vast. Animals are left exposed to the weather, but also to other animals. The grazers here live predominantly in herds, which decreases the chances of a sneak attack by predators. Most of the herd will graze, whilst a small number will be on watch out for predators nearby. If they feel threatened, they will alarm the other members of the herd. The flat and barren landscape has little variation, meaning animals become lost as the grasslands look very similar throughout. Many grazers possess scent glands on their hooves, which let off a distinguishable scent from the glands as they walk. This allows other individuals to trace their way back to the herd in case they get lost. If there is no cover to hide from predators, then how do individuals escape from approaching predators? And if there is no cover for predators to sneak up and prey, then how do they catch them? Well, speed is the key. Most of the time, the deciding factor between a successful hunt and an unsuccessful hunt is down to speed. If an animal is faster than another, it will catch up to it and have a good chance of taking it down and killing it. Similarly, if a prey was fast enough to outrun its predators, then it will have a very good chance of survival. In this biome, natural selection favours those that are fast enough to catch prey and those that are fast enough to avoid predators. The pronghorn, which lives on America's Great Plains, is one of the world's fastest land animals. They use their speed to run from wolves, bears and coyotes. Typically, in South America, their grassland is home to nature's fastest running birds, such as ostriches and emus. These species can reach speeds of up to 44 miles per hour, and they can sustain it for 30 minutes. This is an essential adaptation that they have evolved over time to possess in order to evade predators and survive here. The downside is that running is very energy expensive, and so animals run only when they are faced with immediate danger where their life could be at risk. Another extraordinary behavioural adaptation that grassland animals possess is imaginary boundaries. For example, an antelope will have an imaginary bubble around them of say 50-metre radius. If a predator was to come within that radius, then the antelope would be alarmed and act accordingly. Due to the open grasslands, it's a way of ensuring their safety, but also conserving their energy, as it would be a waste to dash away if a predator was very far away. As its name suggests, The vegetation here is largely made up of grasses. For the typical mammal, the cellulose in grasses is hard to digest. However, yet again, the grazers have an extraordinary adaptation to this issue. They have specialized microorganisms within their gut. These microorganisms are able to break down the cellulose, allowing the grazer to obtain the full amount of nutrients from the grasses. The most efficient animals at digesting cellulose are ruminants, such as antelopes, buffaloes, and giraffes. Those organisms that aren't as well adapted have to consume more vegetation in order to make up for the undigested material. If these microorganisms aren't enough, grazers often regurgitate or double chew their food to make it easier to break down. The typical fauna that inhabit grasslands include antelopes, American bison, pronghorn, ostrich, rheas, wolves, jackrabbits, pumas, coyotes, deer, lizards, and prairie dogs. The climate here is relatively moderate, with high and low peaks in summer and winter respectively. Precipitation is moderate throughout, enough for the grass to grow. The peak of temperatures occurs in the summer. The winters are cold and long, and bitter winds blow across the open and exposed grassland landscape. There is no shelter from the elements, making the winters particularly tough and inhospitable. The food in the winter is often hidden below the snow, making it hard for grazers to reach. Some months, the temperatures can dip below freezing. However, the melting snow provides a rapid spell of growth during spring, which coincides with the breeding season of grazing animals. After long summer, the grassland often turns brown and dry due to a lack of rainfall. Due to their flat and open landscape, which closely resembles farmland, grasslands have been widely converted for agricultural use. 47% of all temperate grasslands have been developed for agriculture or urban development. Before farming occurred, grasslands had covered large parts of the northern hemisphere. Grasslands are an important part of our planet, and it's essential we find ways to rewild them and allow them to return to their former self. Otherwise, many of the native grassland species could soon become extinct. Many grassland birds are in serious decline due to a lack of grasslands around the world. Temperate grasslands may not seem like a biodiverse biome, but they contain a lot of species endemic to grasslands. Sadly, they are being continuously converted. Also, many farmers use grasslands for their cattle, which causes overgrazing of the vegetation, preventing the grasses from regrowing. Normal grazing of the land is needed to remove competitive plants, but it also gives time for grasses to grow, which is needed for the health of the grassland. Overgrazing and crop clearance, particularly for monocultures, severely depletes the soil of nutrients, which can prevent the grasses from regrowing again. The American bison is a native grazing animal to the American prairies. However, domesticated grazers have been introduced by farmers to many grasslands, reducing its biodiversity and the benefits that having bison have on the grasslands. The ever so common fires pose both advantages and disadvantages to this biome. Fires allow dead vegetation to be removed, and it allows for fresh vegetation to sprout. This is important in replenishing the soils, regrowing the grassland, and preventing tree seedlings from forming. However, it sends animals into a frenzied state that causes them to move away from their base. With the effects of climate change becoming more apparent, fires will become more and more common, which will not only cause more panic between animals, but potentially could prevent the grasses from growing, destroying this unique ecosystem. Not only will fires be more common, but so will droughts. The biome typically experiences warm weather anyway, especially during the summer, but climate change will increase the intensity and duration of droughts. The grass will lack the water it needs to grow, and the animals may die of thirst. This wraps up our video. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and if you did, it would be great if you could subscribe and give us a like.